Once upon a time, being called high maintenance was an insult. It meant you cared too much about your looks, your routines, your expectations. It was shorthand for vanity, for neediness, for feminine excess. But lately, something has shifted. On TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, the high maintenance girl is back, and she's proudly taking up space. Think 7-step morning routines, laser facials, lash lifts, color-coordinated gym sets, and a closet that smells like Dior. But more than that is the energy of a woman who refuses to apologize for caring. Her gloss is intentional, her hair is booked, her standards are high, and somewhere between a viral trend and a social statement, the phrase maintenance is self-respect became gospel. But beneath the glossy revival lies a deeper question. What does it mean when beauty becomes a job? One that you perform every single day. This essay isn't about skincare or hair masks. It's about the culture of constant upkeep and how femininity, once a mode of self-expression, has become a 24/7 occupation. We'll explore how the high maintenance girl aesthetic reframes beauty as ambition, how it intersects with class and labor, and why women are increasingly branding themselves as luxury objects in a world that still undervalues their care. Because maybe being high maintenance isn't about vanity anymore. Maybe it's about survival. And hello everyone, my name is Laura and welcome to my channel. Let's take a quick break to talk about something peaceful and honestly a little nostalgic. You know how I've been talking about slowing down and reconnecting with simple rituals? Well, I found the perfect digital version of that. It's called Heyday. Today's sponsor. Heyday is a farming lifestyle game where you can build and design your perfect farm from the ground up with endless ways to personalize it. You can grow crops, harvest, and trade at your own pace. And your crops never die. There are adorable animals like cows, chickens, and even playful pets. And you can create home goods like baked bread, jam, and even clothes using fun production buildings. And the best part? It's completely relaxing. The world of Heyday is always sunny, the music is soft, and there's always something to do, but the stakes are low. You can even join a friendly community, share tips, trade with neighbors, and take part in weekly events to show off your creativity. So if you've been craving a bit of calm in your day, take a moment to download Heyday. It's free on iOS and Android. You can tap the link in the bottom line of the description box. You'll see it right before the fold or scan the QR code on the screen. It'll be also in the pinned comment for you. Oh, and a little surprise, I'm hosting a $50 Heyday giveaway. To enter, all you need to do is download Heyday using my link or QR code, then comment your farm name below. I'll pick a random winner on December 15th, and the prize can be a gift card or something special that fits you. No purchase is necessary, and YouTube isn't a sponsor of the giveaway. So take a break from real life and build the farm of your dreams. Download Heyday now using the link below or just scan the QR code on the screen. Alright, now let's jump back into the main video. Chapter 1, From Mockery to Manifesto, Rebranding the High Maintenance Woman. There was a time when being called high maintenance was a kiss of death for any woman's reputation. The phrase carried an edge of disdain, an accusation that you were too much, too needy, too particular, too difficult to please. You weren't just a woman with standards. You were a woman who made other people's lives harder. The label came with a smirk, a raised eyebrow, a knowing joke in a romantic comedy. To be high maintenance meant to be a burden in heels. In the early 2000s, pop culture was obsessed with this archetype. She appeared everywhere, from Reese Witherspoon's Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, to the glamorous chaos of Sex and the City's Carrie Bradshaw, to the sparkly dysfunction of Uptown Girls. She was the woman who loved her routines, her designer handbags, her scented candles, and her perfectly blown out hair. But her character arc always ended the same way. She had to be humbled. The film or show would strip away her luxury and teach her the value of simplicity, usually through the love or judgment of a man. Her femininity was charming, yes, but only once it was softened, restrained, and made reasonable. The narrative sent a very clear cultural message. Femininity was acceptable only in moderation. You could wear lipstick, but not too much. Care about your appearance, but never admit how much effort it took. You could be beautiful, but only if it looked effortless. Because effort in a woman was a sign of weakness. It suggested dependence, vanity, or insecurity. The low-maintenance girl became the ultimate fantasy. The kind of woman who could roll out of bed and still look stunning, who didn't need anything, especially not from anyone else. But like all cultural pendulums, the narrative eventually swung back. 2 decades later on TikTok and YouTube, the high maintenance woman has returned, but she had a complete rebrand. Now she's not just being mocked, she's being studied. She's aspirational, aesthetic, and ironically authentic in her own glossy way. Under the hashtag high maintenance girl, millions of videos showcase women documenting their beauty routines, laser appointments, and gym sessions, and luxury hauls, all under the banner of self-care. These clips aren't confessions of vanity, they're declarations of power. The message is clear. Yes, I'm high maintenance, and that's a good thing. To call yourself high maintenance today is almost an act of rebellion. It's a refusal to apologize for caring about your appearance, your environment, and your standards. It's a rejection of the chill girl trope that dominated the 2010s, where the ideal woman was cool, undemanding, and always down for whatever. The new ideal isn't chill, it's curated. The modern high maintenance woman doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself. She books her facials in advance. She invests in silk pillowcases and designer planners. Her attention to detail becomes a philosophy, a discipline. But what makes this shift so fascinating is how it reframes maintenance itself. In a world that feels increasingly unstable, politically, economically, and emotionally, beauty becomes a form of control. When everything else is uncertain, you can still control your skincare routine, your nails, and your morning matcha. There's something deeply psychological about this, a ritual of order in the midst of chaos. The new high-maintenance woman doesn't just chase validation from others. She finds stability in her own systems of upkeep. However, beneath this surface empowerment lies a quiet contradiction, because while the rebranding of high maintenance feels liberating on the outside, it still traps women in a cycle of constant self-surveillance. The language has changed, but the pressure hasn't. The tools of control, serums, planners, affirmations are still tools of labor. The same systems that once told women to be effortless now tell them to be optimized. Maintenance becomes the new work, and the self becomes a never-ending project. And that's the irony of the high maintenance manifesto. It promises empowerment, but it's built on exhaustion. It celebrates discipline, but it disguises it as desire. The woman who once had to hide her routines now performs them proudly, but she's still performing. Her beauty is no longer a secret, but it's still her job. Because in a culture where being put together is seen as proof of worth, maintenance is never really optional. It's expectation masquerading as empowerment. And yet, this rebrand reveals something profound about femininity today. Women are tired of being told to shrink. If the world insists on measuring their value by how much effort they put in it, then maybe being high maintenance is an act of defiance, a way of saying, yes, I'm work and I'm worth it. But as we'll see, the empowerment comes at a cost. Because when self-care becomes performance and beauty becomes a career, the line between taking care of yourself and working on yourself starts to disappear. And the work? It never really ends. Chapter 2, Maintenance as Labor, the beauty shift from pleasure to productivity. Beauty used to be an experience, something you did to feel good, to express yourself, to participate in a kind of private artistry. There was a sensual pleasure in it, a rhythm. A woman could stand before her vanity mirror, brushing her hair or applying lipstick, and feel momentarily suspended in time. It wasn't about productivity or optimization. It was about presence. There was a ritualistic calm in it, and an act of recentering. It was a conversation between you and your reflection, not between you and your followers. Now that mirror has become a workspace, scroll through the endless stream of high-maintenance routines online, and you'll notice the tone, not indulgent, but strategic. Every act of care is itemized, optimized, and monetized. Women track their skin cycles like financial quarters, schedule Botox appointments months in advance, and color code their calendars for laser treatments, gym sessions, and hair gloss maintenance. There are spreadsheets for budgeting, facials, reminders of collagen refills, and subscription boxes for every conceivable need. It's not a ritual anymore, it's a system. The beauty routine, once a form of self-expression, now mirrors the structure of corporate labor, the same language that defines professional success and discipline, consistency and accountability, has steeped into the world of personal care. A woman's skincare routine isn't framed as pampering, it's framed as an investment. Her manicure isn't leisure, it's presentation. Her Her gym membership isn't about health, it's about self-optimization. Every rest, once an organic human need, is now something to schedule under the productivity buzzword of recovery. We live in what sociologist Brooke Aaron Duffy calls the aesthetic economy, a system where beauty and self-presentation are forms of capital. In this economy, looking good is no longer just personal, it's professional. Your face, your body, your lifestyle have become your resume. Every polished image you post adds value to your social capital. Every flawless selfie, every glow-up video, every outfit of the day reinforces your perceived confidence and desirability. Beauty has always been currency, but digital culture has made it liquid, traded, scaled, and quantified in likes, views, and sponsorships. And this doesn't just affect influencers or celebrities. Everyday women have internalized the same logic. The aesthetic economy has democratized the pressure. If everyone is visible online, everyone must perform. You don't need a platform of 1 million followers to feel the weight of maintaining a personal brand. The beauty labor has trickled down, becoming as routine as checking emails or updating a LinkedIn profile. This shift has blurred the line between care and work. What used to be a bath at the end of a long day is now a nighttime routine fit for a cinematic documentation. A face mask isn't just skincare, it's content. Even getting ready to go out has become a kind of unpaid performance labor packaged as a get ready with me format. The lighting, the setup, their narration, all carefully curated to suggest authenticity while quietly requiring the precision of director, editor, and marketer rolled into one. The irony, of course, is that the high-maintenance girl often insists she's practicing self-care, but if you look closely, her maintenance list reads more like a project management document. There are tasks, budgets, deliverables, and emotional KPIs, key performance indicators for her sense of self-worth. What looks like self-love is often emotional capitalism disguised as wellness. The idea that you can pour into yourself becomes yet another productivity mandate. If you're tired, you're told to journal about gratitude. If you're stressed, you're told to buy an aromatherapy diffuser. The cure for burnout, a new skincare line. In this way, beauty has become both the system and the solution to modern exhaustion. We are told to soothe ourselves through consumption, to regulate our anxiety through rituals of purchase and performance. What was once a private act of pleasure has been co-opted into a public monetized system of control. The body becomes a site of endless maintenance, and the rest is only permitted when it can be justified as recharging. It's worth asking, when did maintenance replace pleasure? When did the language of care become indistinguishable from the language of work? The modern woman's beauty routine now operates like a small business, with its own expenses, deadlines, and quarterly check-ins. But there's no promotion, no finish line, and no day off. The work is invisible, but it never ends. And perhaps the saddest part is that we rarely question it. We call it empowerment, we call it self-investment, but the truth is, many of us have been quietly retrained to believe that the only way to deserve care is to earn it. That care itself must be efficient, productive, and aesthetically pleasing. So when we say self-care, are we really talking about care, or are we just describing management? Because in the aesthetic economy, even relaxation has become a form of labor. And somewhere in the glow of a ring light and vitamin C serums, the simple pleasure of being a woman who enjoys her beauty has been replaced by anxiety of a woman who must maintain it. Chapter 3, the economics of beauty, when care becomes capital. Let's talk about money. Because beneath every glass-skinned, slicked-bunned, perfectly moisturized, high-maintenance girl is an economic system designed to keep her looking that way. The high-maintenance aesthetic might look clean, minimal, and effortless, but the cost of maintaining that illusion is anything but. The hair oil, the stylist, the blowout, the lash fill, the facialist, the colorist, the Pilates studio, the body sculpting, the IV drip, the $90 candle that smells like quiet luxury, and the $400 perfume that promises to elevate your vibration. It's a part of a cycle of spending that never ends. And that's the point. Because in late-stage capitalism, beauty is one of the few currencies women are still encouraged, almost required to build. When other forms of stability feel increasingly out of reach, housing, healthcare, and financial security beauty offers a kind of illusion of control. You might not be able to afford a home, but you can afford maintenance, a lash lift, a blowout, a facial. It's an investment not in your body, but in your value. The high maintenance woman is not just a consumer, she's an asset manager. Her face is a portfolio, her body is a brand. Her treatment, every purchase, every new product added to her routine is framed as an act of self-investment. Marketing language reinforces this at every level. Invest in your skin, you are the asset. Luxury is self-care. Even rest is something to buy. Weighted blankets, $80 sleep masks, anti-anxiety candles, and designer pajamas made to look effortless on Instagram. But this framing obscures a harder truth. Beauty work is labor. Sociologist Elizabeth Wissinger calls this glamour labor, the physical, emotional, and financial work required to maintain the appearance of ease. Glamour labor is invisible, unpaid, and constant. It's not just about looking beautiful, it's about appearing naturally beautiful, as if your glow came from the inner light rather than an external budget. The emotional toll of this illusion is immense, but the economic one is measurable. It's expensive to look effortless, and that's what gives the look its power. Because the aesthetic of ease, the glossy hair, the dewy skin, the matching sets, signals not only beauty, but access. It implies that you have the money, the time, and the resources to maintain yourself. In that sense, the high maintenance aesthetic isn't simply about personal style, it's about class performance, a kind of coded luxury that communicates, I can afford to care about the details. This is why the rhetoric around the high maintenance lifestyle feels empowering on the surface, but subtly reinforces a hierarchy underneath. When women online say, I'm doing this for me, it's often true, but it's also deeply shaped by the market. The beauty industry has learned to translate insecurity into empowerment language. It tells women that spending is self-worth, that labor is luxury, that control is care. You're not buying a serum, you're investing in your future self. You're not booking a facial, you're protecting your energy. It's the same emotional logic of capitalism, just wrapped in a pink packaging. And here's the catch, the ability to be high maintenance is a privilege, but it's not marketed as privilege, it's marketed as discipline. The women who can afford to maintain are celebrated as aspirational, as proof that anyone can have that girl glow if they just work harder. Meanwhile, those who can't afford the upkeep are subtly framed as lazy, unmotivated, or neglectful. If your skin isn't radiant, it's because you're not consistent. If you can't keep up, it's not the system that's flawed, it's you. This moralization of beauty has turned a maintenance into a kind of social scoreboard. Smooth skin signals control. Chipped nails suggest chaos. The well-kept body becomes evidence of emotional stability, self-discipline, and even moral virtue. Beauty has become meritocratic, a visible marker of effort and worthiness. The glossy aesthetic of put-togetherness has replaced inner peace as the ultimate form of social currency. But when care becomes currency, it stops being care, it becomes commerce. And commerce always demands expansion. There's always a new product, a new treatment, a new way to optimize your appearance. The moment you reach one standard, another rises in its place. The machine feeds on your exhaustion, promising ease if you'll only buy a little more, work a little harder, and spend a little extra. The cycle is what writer Gia Tolentino once called the trap of self-optimization. The illusion that if you keep perfecting yourself, you'll eventually find peace. But peace isn't profitable, maintenance is. And so the beauty industry keeps women on an endless treadmill, disguised as empowerment, marketed as freedom. The same system that taught women to hate their flaws now sells them as tools to fix them and congratulates them for calling it self-love. The result is a kind of quiet economic captivity. Women are spending more time, more money, and more emotional energy than ever in the name of care. But the line between empowerment and exhaustion keeps blurring. Beauty is still a job. It's just one that now pays in likes instead of actual wages. Because in the aesthetic economy, you are both the labor and the product. And if you ever stop working on yourself, the system makes sure you feel it. Chapter 4, The Feminine Hustle, Beauty as Performance and Power. The high-maintenance girl aesthetic thrives in a world where visibility is survival. In a hyper-digital economy, to be seen is to exist, and to exist beautifully is to be rewarded. Influencer culture didn't just popularize this idea, it institutionalized it. What began as a niche corner of YouTube tutorials and outfit of the days has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar economy where self-presentation is labor. And the women who mastered it first, like Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, and Lori Harvey, became the blueprint for a generation of young women who learned that beauty wasn't just a personal pursuit, it was a professional strategy. In this new hierarchy of visibility, maintenance is the currency of legitimacy. The glossy blowout, the manicured nails, the clean girl self-skincare shelf. They're not just about looking good, but about signaling control. When a woman says, "I have my life together," she's not talking about emotional peace or work-life balance. She's talking about order, visible order, an organized bathroom counter, a color-coordinated wardrobe, a routine that looks like success. The phrases that dominate social media today are, "I'm entering my soft girl era," "This is what that girl does," "romanticizing your life," all communicate one thing. To be feminine is to be in control of your own image. But this control is deceptive, because behind the soft feminine packaging is the same old capitalist logic. Optimization. The soft girl is just the boss babe in silk pajamas. She is still performing productivity. It's just pastel now. And that's the quiet genius of the high maintenance aesthetic. It sells you the illusion of leisure while demanding endless labor. The high maintenance woman must always appear composed, rested, and radiant. Yet maintaining that composure requires work that is neither visible nor acknowledged. It's a kind of feminine hustle, one that looks glamorous but operates under the same grind set as corporate life. You clock in with your morning skincare routine and clock out after your evening wind down. You manage your schedule, your lighting, your tone of voice. Your body is both your office and your product. The performance has a long lineage. In the 1950s, the ideal woman was a domestic goddess whose spotless home and polished appearance signaled moral virtue. Her lipstick and pearls weren't frivolous. They were proof of her discipline and devotion. Cleanliness was next to godliness, and femininity was measured in shine. Then, in the 1980s, the archetype shifted to the power woman. Shoulder pads, red lipstick, heels that clicked like punctuation marks. She wielded beauty as armor, matching the corporate aggression of men while staying unmistakably feminine. Today, the maintenance girl merges these two ideals. She's the polished perfectionist of the 50s and the ambitious power player of the 80s, wrapped in the aesthetic of the digital era wellness. She's the woman who works hard but calls it self-care, who monetizes her morning matcha, who turns her routine into content and her personality into a platform. She's hyper-feminine and hyper-productive, soft and strategic. The blend is seductive and exhausting. Because make no mistake, this kind of beauty is work, the daily upkeep, the brand collaborations, the content creation, the relentless self-documentation. It's unpaid emotional labor masquerading as leisure. A get ready with me video looks effortless, but it's a performance of productivity. A woman doing her job in real time under the soft glow of a ring light. The hair mask, the Pilates class, the latte art. All of it feeds the algorithmic demand of proof of polish. You must show that you are tending to yourself or risk being perceived as neglectful. This logic extends far beyond social media. In offices and dating apps, in friendships, women learn that being put together signals competence. A woman with smudged mascara is stressed. A woman with fresh nails and hydrated skin is handling it. Beauty has become shorthand for stability. A nonverbal language that says, "I'm capable, I'm safe, and I'm succeeding." But it's a fragile power, because it depends on constant upkeep. The moment you stop maintaining, the illusion begins to crack. And here's the paradox. While the new performance of beauty feels empowering, it's still built on external validation. The woman who says, "I do this for me," may mean it, but she's operating in a system that constantly rewards her for doing it publicly. Empowerment in this context is no longer liberation. It's a form of monetized visibility. The more you invest in yourself, the more yourself becomes an investment. The emotional cost of this performance is subtle but profound. Many women describe a persistent anxiety around upkeep, the feeling that their one chipped nail One bad skin week, one skipped workout away from losing control. And in that sense, the feminine hustle mirrors the broader pressures of capitalism. The goalposts always move, there's always another treatment to try, another standard to meet, another product to buy. When beauty becomes a full-time job, it's worth asking who's profiting? The woman who's exhausted or the industries that depend on her exhaustion? For all the language of empowerment and independence, the truth is that the maintenance girl aesthetic still serves the same system that once mocked her. It's just learned to flatter her first. And maybe that's the most insidious part. The system doesn't tell women not to work on themselves. It tells them to love the work, to find joy in the hustle, to call it freedom. But beneath the gloss, the question lingers. Quiet, inconvenient, unfiltered. If beauty is empowerment, why does it feel like so much work? Chapter 5, Maintenance, Control, and the Anxiety of Decay. There's something deeper driving the obsession with upkeep. Something older than social media. Older even than beauty itself. It's fear. Fear of aging, fear of irrelevance, fear of becoming invisible in a world that only rewards what it can see. The high-maintenance woman is not just chasing perfection, she's defending herself against decline. In a culture where visibility equals value, the body becomes a battleground, and maintenance becomes armor. Every serum, every supplement, every microcurrent facial whispers the same quiet promise: you can keep time at bay. Maintenance is at its core an illusion of control. It offers the comforting fantasy that if you just try hard enough, if you exfoliate, hydrate, and optimize, you can outsmart entropy. You can keep the chaos out. But that control is fragile because it's built on a moving target. Standards evolve overnight. What was once aspirational becomes outdated. Yesterday's natural glow is today's underwhelming effort. Aesthetic perfection is a treadmill with no finish line. You can run forever and never arrive. The cycle of fear and control isn't new, it's just rebranded. Historically, the anxiety around feminine decay has always been a cultural obsession. In the Victorian era, a woman's moral worth was inseparable from her physical purity. Pale skin, delicate features, and modest dress weren't just fashion, they were proof of virtue. To age, to wrinkle, to show signs of use was to lose value, both socially and spiritually. Women were taught to preserve themselves like flowers under glass, even as life demanded their bloom. By the 1920s, modern beauty culture had transformed that moral pressure into a commercial one. With the rise of mass cosmetics and department stores, beauty became freedom, but only if you could afford it. Flappers painted their lips and bobbed their hair as acts of rebellion. But even that rebellion was conditional. Liberation came at a price. A woman's power was still tethered to her appearance. She just had new tools to maintain it. The cycle repeated again in the early 2000s with the makeover narrative that dominated pop culture. Reality shows like Extreme Makeover, The Swan, and America's Top Model sold transformation as both punishment and reward. You were told that your natural self wasn't enough. But if you submitted to the process, if you did the work, you could emerge new. Beauty became a ritual of redemption, but even in transformation, decay loomed. The threat that without maintenance, you'd slip back into your before state. Now we've entered an even more insidious phase, the era of maintenance without end. Transformation is no longer the goal, it's maintenance itself that has become the virtue. You don't need to reinvent yourself, you just have to keep up. The modern woman isn't trying to become someone new. She's trying to preserve the person the world already expects her to be. The influencer who must maintain her glow. The professional who must look fresh. The mother who must age gracefully. The woman who must look put together. Because to appear undone is to risk judgment, pity, or dismissal. But the emotional toll of this endless preservation is immense. Many women describe their routines not as relaxing, but as compulsive. I can't skip it or I feel off, they say. What began as care becomes obligation. What began as a ritual becomes regulation. The skincare routine, the hair appointments, the gym sessions, they stop being acts of nourishment and start being systems of control. The body is managed like a business, optimized for longevity and presentation, and beneath that constant vigilance is the gnawing anxiety that no amount of effort will ever truly be enough. The anxiety is amplified by culture that treats aging as a failure. The narrative of aging gracefully sounds empowering, but is in reality another trap. It still demands youth, just rebranded as wellness. We praise women who don't look their age, as if invisibility were a compliment. We've simply replaced the word young with ageless, but the message is the same: decay must be hidden at all costs. Technology has only deepened this fear. Filters blur pores and lines in real time, giving us digital mirrors that lie kindly but relentlessly. Cosmetic clinics market preventative Botox to women in their 20s. The anti-aging industry has become a trillion-dollar machine, thriving on the quiet panic of women who have been taught to see natural time as unnatural decline. And yet, the fear is not just about beauty, it's about identity. For centuries, women's worth has been tethered to their ability to maintain their homes, their families, their bodies, their emotions. To let something fall apart is to fail, not just aesthetically, but existentially. Maintenance becomes a form of self-preservation in a world that refuses to hold space for women as they change. But what happens when control masquerades as care? When the rituals meant to soothe begin to suffocate? At some point, the nightly skincare routine stops being about relaxation and becomes a quiet battle against time. The gym session becomes less about strength and more about staving off loss. And that's the moment beauty stops being nourishment and becomes survival. We've mistaken control for comfort. We've mistaken maintenance for meaning. And in doing so, we've turned our own bodies into sites of constant project management, spaces that must always be improved, never simply inhabited. Maybe that's the hidden tragedy of the maintenance aesthetic. It promises immortality, but it steals presence. It keeps us looking forward and backward, never here. And perhaps the question we should be asking isn't how do we maintain ourselves, but why are we so afraid to change? Because beneath every routine, every ritual, ever carefully preserved reflection, there's a human being, soft, aging, and evolving, who was never meant to be maintained at all. Chapter 6, The Soft Rebellion, Choosing Ritual Over Routine. And yet, amid all the hypergloss chaos, beneath the serums, the scheduling, and the striving, something gentler is stirring. It's quiet, it's slow, and almost imperceptible at first, like a small act of defiance disguised as self-care. A new generation of women are beginning to turn away from the constant churn of upkeep and productivity, choosing instead to reimagine maintenance, not as labor, but as ritual. They're lighting candles not for the aesthetic, but for the scent of stillness. They're making their own face masks out of honey and oats. They're switching from 10-step routines to 3, not because of minimalist trends, but because they want to touch their own faces again without a camera between them and the mirror. They're spending Sunday afternoons brushing their hair in silence, making tea in real cups, taking baths without documenting them. It's not about quitting beauty, it's about reclaiming it. This shift isn't anti-beauty, it's anti-burnout. It's a soft rejection of the cultural machinery that turned femininity into management. These women aren't necessarily opting out of care, they're opting out of optimization. They're asking, what if being high maintenance didn't mean expensive, but intentional? What if doing the most meant giving yourself presence, not perfection? In many ways, this is a quiet rebellion of our time, reclaiming care from capitalism, taking beauty back from algorithms, marketing, and the logic of performance. It's a movement toward private beauty, beauty that exists for you alone, beauty that doesn't need to be shared, liked, or validated. The kind of beauty that comes from being fully in your body, not outside of it. Watching yourself perform. This shift towards ritual over routine is deeply emotional. It's a return to something ancient, almost sacred. Before beauty became a commodity, it was a form of ceremony. In every culture across centuries, women's rituals of adornment, hair braiding, bathing, perfuming, dressing were acts of communion. They marked the transitions, honored the body, and expressed identity. These were not routines meant to be efficient. They were acts of belonging. Somewhere along the way, we lost intimacy. We outsourced it to commerce, automation, and social validation. What once tethered us to ourselves became another way to perform for others. Now, the soft rebellion seeks to bring that connection back, to re-centralize care. It's about slowness, touch, and texture. The sound of brushing through your hair, the smell of oil warming between your palms. The simple tactile joy of being with yourself. In online spaces, you can already see the rebellion taking shape. The rise of slow beauty and offline aesthetics feels like a breath of air after years of glassy high-shine perfection. Videos of women reading by candlelight, hand-stitching clothes, or pressing flowers into journals have replaced the fast-paced get ready with me montages. They're not trying to escape femininity, they're just trying to make it feel human again. And this movement, though soft, is also radical, because to slow down in a world that profits from your speed is an act of resistance. To find contentment in imperfection is a rejection of the capitalist logic that tells women they must constantly improve. Choosing ritual over routine means redefining what it means to keep up. It means saying, I don't want to keep up, I want to feel alive. This rebellion also reframes what luxury really means. In the high maintenance era, luxury has been equated with consumption. Designer handbags, medical grade facials, fragrance collections worth more than rent. But as more women grow weary of that performance, a new definition is emerging. Maybe the real luxury isn't about looking expensive. Maybe it's about feeling like you belong to yourself. Luxury in this new sense is peace, time, and privacy. The freedom to do something slowly, for no other reason than it feels good. The luxury of not turning every act into content. The luxury of being unobserved, unoptimized, and unbothered. And perhaps that what makes this rebellion so quietly powerful. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't scream or sell or perform. It just exists, calmly, beautifully, on its own terms. Because maybe the most radical thing a woman can do today is nothing performative at all. To find joy in the invisible, to care for herself without needing to prove that care is anyone else. To remember that maintenance, when stripped of anxiety and performance, was always meant to be a form of intimacy, not survival. And so the soft rebellion isn't a rejection of beauty, it's a homecoming, a return to the body, the senses, the small moments of aliveness that the algorithm can't capture. It's a whisper against the noise of perfectionism that says, I'm here, I'm enough, I'm still becoming, but I don't need to perform the becoming. Because in a world obsessed with being seen, there's something profoundly freeing about disappearing into your own quiet rituals and realizing that you were never meant to be maintained, only lived in. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below. I mean, watching a lot of these routines on TikTok do look exhausting. I mean, I'm sure these people aren't filming them every day, but there's a lot of steps in those. I mean, some of them are filmed very well, I'm not gonna lie, but it just seems exhausting, and then encourages other people to feel like they have to have these insane routines and then end up spending all this money just to perform on social media, and it's a whole cycle. So anyways, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on all this. All right, thanks for watching.